I'm Tom Reynolds, and I'm Greg's dad, and I enjoy traveling for fun, and have been to many places. Started when I was a kid, when we went from Michigan to Colorado a couple times to go skiing, and then when I moved to California, I traveled out to Hawaii on vacation, and then in 1987 I took off for about 6 months, and I went to Hawaii, New Zealand, and Australia. I spent about 6 weeks in Hawaii, 4 weeks in New Zealand, and 3 months in Australia. Took off for Australia and went down to a place called Melbourne and did some touring down there for about 4 days down the Great Ocean Road, southern part of Australia, and saw the 12 Apostles, which are these limestone formations sticking up out of the ocean. And I went up through the Grampian National Forest, and then while I was there I booked a 3-week bus tour. It was a camping bus tour, and went up the whole coast of Australia and went to 8 different tropical islands up that way, and went through a place called Hamilton Island, and it was so pretty at the time. This was 1987. I figured if I ever got married and had kids, I'd bring my kids there someday, and that was 2005. I took you and Emily to Hamilton Island. We spent a week there. So. And then we went as far north as Cairns and Port Douglas, Australia. And then later in life I took a vacation down to the Cook Islands. I went to Otatucky, which is a beautiful little atoll north of the main island, Rarotonga, in the Cook Islands. And they actually filmed Survivor Cook Islands on this atoll. So that was one of the coolest places I visited. It was just a beautiful atoll, and warm, and it was a small island with only 2,500 people, and the island was divided up into 4 different tribes that were on the island. And I rode a scooter around when I was there, and I had a guy that had a boat who I'd pay him to take me out in the morning to drop me off on one of the outer islands that was non-inhabited, and I'd spend most of the day out there kicking around, and I had all my kiteboarding gear with me, so I'd go spend almost every day on some outer island, kind of like Gilligan's Island. And so that's where I spent a bunch of time on that trip. And then I took another trip down to French Polynesia and went to Bora Bora, and that was a beautiful island, and really enjoyed that. Probably more interesting would be doing the tour up the Daintree River in Australia, northern Australia, out of Port Douglas, and looking at the big crocodiles, the big man-eater sized crocs. And we took a tour and got to see some of those crocs. And one of those crocs had attacked one of the river guide's kids and killed him when they had floods over there during the rainy season. So it's pretty amazing. And looking at these crocs, they look like big prehistoric lizards sitting there on the riverbank, and the guides know where they're all at. And each croc has a riverbank all divvied up with his section of river that he patrols and he owns. So these guides know where all these crocs are, so when you go up there on a croc tour, you can see them. So that was probably one of the more interesting parts of the trip. And then also Hamilton Island with all the birds. They've got cockatoos, these wild cockatoos that are almost tame, and rainbow lorikeets, and they'll come up on your lanai and sit up there and you feed them, and they're pretty amazing.